Hi everyone, I'm Emily Mills. I'm a geospatial technology manager with the Chesapeake Conservancy, and I work in our Conservation Innovation Center, which is our team of geospatial staff. And I've had the great privilege of working with both Khadija and Nicholas, sorry. And happy to introduce Khadija Smith, who is our intern from Morgan State University. And I think you take it from there and introduce your topic.
Hello guys, again, my name is Khadija and I am an intern with the Chesapeake Conservancy. So a little bit of background, Charles County Departments of Parks and Recreation is working in collaboration with the Chesapeake Conservancy to update their 5-year land preservation parks and recreation plan. And with this plan, we hope to suggest guidelines and recommendations that the county can proceed by for enhancement of their parks, recreation sites, and open spaces for the next 5 years. And for my research project, I wanted to emphasize on the impacts of climate change and how that has been affecting the county. So far, this map right here shows you that these are actually flooding sites in Charles County. And Charles County has about 100 sites that are prone to flooding. So with that being said, I wanted to investigate the impact of climate change. And as you can see, based on this map, climate change can present itself as frequent storms, intense droughts, and heat waves. And I believe that the municipalities can install green infrastructure to mitigate impacts from climate change and also benefit because they will be preserving their recreation sites, parks, and residential developments. This next slide right here shows an increase in precipitation, which I kind of equate, or with that increase in precipitation, there's a risk of increased risk for flooding. So the map on the left from 2005 is all red, but during 2005, the annual precipitation average was about 40 inches per year. In 2020, fast forward, the annual precipitation average is about 50 inches or more per year. And this is just an example to show what tree canopy, which is an example of green infrastructure, how that can help reduce flooding. So on the left, you see the more natural the ground cover is, the ground is able to absorb more water and you have less runoff. And then of course on the right, the more impervious the surface is, the more runoff and less water is able to absorb. This is a land cover map that I got from the Chesapeake Conservancy, and this is a 2013-2014 map, which is a 1 meter pixel. And as you can see, the gray, which represents the impervious surface, and the red represents the structures. That just highlights there's a lack of tree canopy or green structures. So the tree canopy would be represented by this dark green. So wherever you see that impervious and structures, there's like, not to say that there isn't tree canopy, but there's less tree canopy. So my goal for this project was to locate areas where there are drainage issues related to increased flooding, quantify land cover features in their drainage sites, and use land cover maps to identify changes in land cover features. So my methods were I used ArcGIS Pro to do the analysis, and digital elevation model, which was one of the most important things that we use. Digital elevation model, or DEM, is a digital representation of a topographic region. So this map here is a topographic representation of Charles County. And on this side, you see the digital representation. And this model allows us to produce a watershed delineation. And more importantly, we use 2 inputs, flow direction, which gives out data. The flow direction input allowed us to see the direction our data was flowing, and the flow accumulation gave pixels or a visual representation to see where the water is concentrating into certain stream channels. For data sets, on the left is polygon data which are these little polygons that you see on the map, are actual drainage sites in Charles County. And like I said, there are about 100 drainage site issues. And on this site, we have the land cover map, which was used as the basis to quantify the land cover features for each particular drainage site area. We also did watershed delineations for each drainage site. So this blue outline represents an actual watershed, and within that watershed, the water is pouring into this drainage site represented, where you can see the orange polygon. Based on the digital elevation model, the polygons and the land cover maps, and for reference, I used two land cover maps. One was 2013, 2014, and another land cover map was 2017 and 2018. Those land cover maps help us to calculate percent changes in the actual land cover features. And for this presentation, I only selected 4 land cover features, for example. So one land cover feature is tree canopy, the other one structures, impervious surfaces, and barren land. And on the far left, there are subdivisions, and I selected 3 to show as examples. So in the next few slides, you'll see the visual changes in land cover features. You'll see the difference between the different land cover features based on these 2 maps from 2013 and 2017. So this site right here, okay, Heritage at Charles is one subdivision that was a site that was prone to flooding. This area experienced an 11% decrease in tree canopy, which the tree canopy is represented by the dark green. And the area is within this blue outline, which is the polygon. So 11% decrease in tree canopy, 20% increase in structures, and most of all, a 91% decrease in barren land. So the orange represents the barren land. So you see in 2013, the land was mostly barren. 2017 and 2018, the land features shifted to more structures. The structures are represented by the red dots. And the impervious surfaces increase as well, which you can't see as much here, but the impervious surfaces will be represented by gray. And we have the imagery map, which shows that the land was actually developed. So initially the land was undeveloped, and later on it was developed into a residential area. The next site is Strawberry Hills, and in these maps we can see that the area had a lot of tree canopy in 2013, and then 2017 the tree canopy was reduced by 16% and it was replaced with barren land. And as you can see in the imagery, that this land is also being developed, and more than likely it's probably going to be developed into a residential neighborhood. The last example is Windsor Manor, which had the greatest tree canopy loss, more than likely 2013, 2014. It was probably just forest land or whatever. And in 2017, the barren land increased by 67%. There was also a great increase in the number of structures, which you see in the red, and also pavement, like the black represents roads. So in the imagery, you see that the land was developed into a residential neighborhood. So based on these 3 sites that I just showed you, it's pretty clear to see that land development is a likely influence to land cover, a likely influence to change in land cover features. So with that being said, I have some solutions and recommendations that could benefit areas or the county, because there's so much land development going on. And with the land development, there's a loss of tree canopy, green infrastructure, things that would help prevent the area from flooding. So one would be to decrease the length of driveways. This is an actual house from one of the developments, and you can see how big that driveway is. And the bigger the driveway, the more pavement, that means that the impervious surface is greater. So when the rain falls, that rain is just gonna run off. It doesn't have anywhere to really absorb into. And at the bottom, it's recommended that, the county could probably use more permeable pavement. And you can see the difference that when the rain is falling with the permeable ground, it can absorb, it has somewhere to absorb into. Impermeable, the rain, it just sits there, it floods and it pools. Another thing that could be beneficial are rain gardens, and these could be placed beside residential, in the yards of residents. And the rain gardens basically act as a way to absorb that excess flow of water or rainwater. Also, we have bioretention, which is just extra vegetation. And you can see here that with that extra vegetation, it serves as a buffer. So when it does rain or storm, the water is going to absorb into this ground as opposed to accumulating in the streets or the sidewalks. So in conclusion, land development influences how rainfall is stored. In most natural ground covers, such as vegetation and forests, rainfall is collected and stored. But however, when it comes to impervious surfaces, such as roads and buildings, there's less capacity for storage. As a result, communities can be at risk for flood hazards and exposure to toxins and pathogens from stormwater. So per my analysis, these recommendations are not anything new, but to have the problem identified that, climate change is a real thing, the county probably does want to step up, or not to say that they're not doing anything now, but they can definitely continue to work on climate resiliency measures to, to protect the features of the county, such as their parks, recreation sites, and residential neighborhoods. So thank you for your time. Are there any questions?
Hi, Dan Laughlin. Khadija, did you look at the county rainwater management plan at all? I know in my county up here in Montgomery County, we had tax credits by the county to encourage us to do things like rain gardens and replacing impermeable surfaces with permeable surfaces when we do construction on homes. Do they have any of that in Charles County? Do you know?
Charles County does have a flood mitigation plan. So they are implementing stormwater management to better deal with the issue of flooding. And from a research standpoint, for me, this was an opportunity to do a data analysis just to see how, it was just more so a data analysis for me to see visually using GIS, how to identify these problems, and of course, what else can be done to help with those issues. But they do have a plan in place.
Okay. You might, I'm not sure if they'd be interested, but you might want to reach out with them and share your slides at least, because I know whenever they're doing public presentations, having visual aids can be helpful, but it's just a thought. Thanks.
Thank you.